Welcome to Echo Chamber Trivia. On this channel, we tell the untold stories of the music industry and the artists we all love. Think you know Queen? Think again. There are secrets buried in their past, hidden truths even the biggest fans don't talk about. Like the time Brian May and John Deacon built a key piece of their sound from junk. Wild, right? Right, so you hear Brian May's guitar? That incredible sound, right? All those layers, that endless sustain. You think top-of-the-line gear, cutting-edge tech. But here's the kicker. A lot of it came from something called the DC amp. Listen, this wasn't some fancy studio invention. Nope. John Deacon, the quiet one. He was a whiz with electronics, you see. He took an old radio, a broken one, and built a tiny transistor amp inside it. Just a little box, really. This isn't just a quirky side note. This is foundational. John built this thing for Brian, and Brian started messing around with it. The sound it made was unique, like a mini orchestra in a box. It didn't need to be loud, it was about the tone. That signature sustain, those rich, fat sounds on tracks like Brighton Rock or Killer Queen. A big chunk of that came from this homemade device. It's mind-blowing when you think about it. The band that would conquer stadiums with huge sound systems started with this little DIY project. Who does that? I mean, it just shows you. The genius isn't always in the biggest budget or the newest equipment. Sometimes it's in the ingenuity, the sheer will, to create a sound that doesn't exist yet. Brian and John, two technical minds, just messing around in a workshop. It proves that Queen's iconic sound wasn't just found. It was built with their own hands from a discarded radio. That's a level of dedication, a real understanding of their craft that many bands today just don't have. It's a secret ingredient hidden in plain sight, honestly. Okay, so moving on to another ghost in the machine. Everyone knows Queen's first album, right? The one with Keep Yourself Alive. But what if I told you that wasn't their first version of that album? No joke. Before they hit Trident Studios for their official debut, Queen had already cut an entire, basically finished album. This was way back in 1971, at a place called Delane Leia Studios. It was, well, raw, a bit rough around the edges. This early album, it's like a whisper from another timeline. It had songs like Keep Yourself Alive, Great King Rat, even some early versions of tracks that would appear much later. But see, the arrangements were different. The words, sometimes slightly changed. It wasn't quite the Queen we know. It was Queen in embryo, still figuring things out. The band recorded it, tried to get a deal with it, but it never came out, not officially anyway. You can find pieces of it, if you know where to look, on old bootlegs, which honestly are incredibly rare. Think about that. An entire album, finished, sitting in a vault somewhere, unheard by most of the world. It's not just an unreleased demo tape. It was a full-on attempt at their debut. It gives you a sense of their struggle, their early hustle. They poured their hearts into it, only for it to be set aside. Then they had to go back and basically do it all again, shaping it into the album we eventually got. It shows you the sheer determination, believe me, that these guys had from the very start. They didn't just give up after one try. And I mean, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if that first version had been released? Would Queen have sounded different? Would their path have changed? It's a forgotten chapter, a phantom album that hints at a slightly different reality. It tells us that even the most legendary bands have these hidden origins, these discarded blueprints that offer a totally different view of their beginnings. It's a treasure map, if you will, to their raw, unpolished sound before the world knew their name. Okay, so let's talk about Freddie. Everyone knows Freddie Mercury was a showman, a master of visuals, right? His costumes were legendary. But his involvement in the band's look went far beyond just himself. Get this, during the Sheer Heart Attack tour in 1974, Freddie personally applied makeup to all the other band members. Yeah, you heard that right. Before every single show, in the dressing room, Freddie was there with the brushes and powders. This wasn't just a quick touch-up. No, Freddie saw it as a ritual, a transformation. He wanted the band to look united, to embody this theatrical persona before they even hit the stage. It wasn't just about his own flamboyant image, it was about the band's image. He had this keen eye for presentation, this absolute control over how Queen was seen. He believed every detail mattered, even down to how the light hit John Deacon's cheekbones. That's dedication, I'm telling you. It really underlines just how much Freddie was the driving force behind Queen's whole aesthetic, not just their music. He wasn't just a singer, he was the art director, the visionary for the entire spectacle. He knew that to be Queen, they had to look like Queen. And that meant everyone, even the more reserved members, had to play their part in this visual drama. It adds this whole other layer to his genius, doesn't it? It wasn't just the voice, it was the vision for everything. Honestly, who else does that? A lead singer, an icon, sitting there, meticulously putting makeup on his bandmates? It's just wild. It's a secret glimpse into the intensity of their early years, the lengths they went to create that mystique. This wasn't about vanity, this was about art. This was about creating a unified, powerful stage presence that would grab people by the throat. It shows the true depth of Freddie's commitment, not just to his own performance, but to the entire Queen experience. Alright, so here's a true underdog story, a real bump in the road for Queen that you rarely hear about. Before they really made it big, before the fame, the sold-out stadiums, Queen went to America. This was in the summer of 1973, just before their first album even came out. They went as the opening act for an American band called Foxy, and it was a disaster. Like, a total mess. No joke. Foxy was a progressive rock band, sort of big at the time, or so they thought. But the tour was plagued with problems. Their management was, let's just say, not great. The attendance at the shows was terrible. Queen, these ambitious, flashy newcomers, were playing to tiny crowds, sometimes barely anyone. Imagine that. Queen, playing to an almost empty room. Can you believe that? The tour quickly fell apart. It was canceled after only a handful of shows. Queen, these guys who were supposed to be on the cusp of something huge, found themselves stranded in America, broke and defeated. They had no money, no gigs, and a dream that felt like it was slipping away. It was a huge setback, a really brutal taste of how hard the music business could be. Most documentaries skip right over this dark patch, but it happened. For real. It's not the glamorous narrative we're used to, is it? We think of Queen as instantly famous, an overnight success. But this Foxy tour, it was a harsh dose of reality. It shows they truly had to fight for it, even after getting a record deal. It's a testament to their resilience, honestly, that they didn't just pack it in and go home. They kept pushing, kept believing. It adds so much more weight to their eventual success, knowing they faced these kinds of crushing disappointments early on. Think about the sheer grit it must have taken to come back from that. To be at rock bottom, thousands of miles from home, and still believe you're meant for something bigger. It makes their eventual rise even more incredible, knowing they had this early failure clinging to them. This isn't just a footnote. It's a critical moment where they could have given up. But they didn't. That kind of fire, that kind of unbreakable will, that's what truly defines them. It's a story about persistence, about refusing to let a bad break define your entire future. This whole incident, with the canceled shows and being stranded, it solidified their bond, I think. It taught them valuable, hard lessons about the industry and about themselves. And really, it made the eventual explosion of Killer Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody that much sweeter. That's the real story behind the legends, you see. This is what happens when you dig a little deeper, when you look past the polished narratives. You find the DC amp, a secret weapon built from an old radio. You uncover the Phantom album, a lost chapter of their sound. You see Freddie, not just as a singer, but as the meticulous artist behind every band member's face. And you discover that crushing early tour, the one that almost broke them before they even started. These aren't just trivia points. They're the raw truths, the cracks in the facade that show the real struggle, the real genius, the real human story behind one of the biggest bands ever. They show Queen wasn't just a flash of brilliance. It was a hard-fought battle built on secret inventions, discarded recordings, meticulous vision, and unwavering determination against all odds. If you enjoyed diving into this lesser-known story, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button and subscribe for more music history deep dives. We've got plenty more fascinating stories coming your way. Thanks for watching.